Bula everyone, I'm Padmini Gounder from Cluster 13, Pukikohi Papakura in Auckland. It is my honor to introduce our next speaker and an amazing educator, Rota Carrington. Rota is Ministry of Education appointed Principal Advisor, responsible for RTLB and LSC Services support. Most of his working life, Rota has been involved in education, which includes classroom teaching, experiences in principal roles, and serving various education groups. His key role has been an integration advisor for business and industry, which involved creating industry standard training in secondary schools to develop pathways to employment. Interestingly, Rota had a few years outside of education while living overseas, but he has always been drawn back to education. Rota was also an officer in the New Zealand Army Reserves for 15 years. We look forward to hearing from Rota. Please join me in welcoming Rota Carrington.
Thanks, Padmani. So, Rota, this is actually part of this is actually an interview with you. We're just going to have a chat, and I'm going to ask a few questions. And please feel free to elaborate as long as you want. I hope you had a good chance to look at these questions and share some of your insights with us today. For those of you who don't know Rota has taken the role that Jill Ford was appointed to, and it's wonderful, Rota, that you've given you've given yourself the opportunity for us to get to know you, and to share what you have. So I'm going to start with the first thing. Tell us a bit about yourself, about your family, and your whakapapa.
Kia ora tātou kānei te mihi kia koutou, karanga mai mihi mai ki te kaupapa o tēnei hui. Ko Rota Carrington toko ingoa, maunga arangi tō tuku maunga, otara tuku iwi, tuku awa, Ngāti Ngāhere tuku hapu, o Ngāti Ngāti Whakatohea tuku iwi, o matātua tuku waka, ko Rota Carrington ahau. My mother and father were from hugely different ends of the spectrum. My father was an English army soldier, British Army during the war, then came out to the New Zealand, joined the New Zealand Army. And my mother was born and bred at our pa, didn't speak English till she went to school at 5. So I was brought up in that environment. My father was totally supportive of our Māori heritage, more than totally supportive, I might say. I have a brother and sister. My brother is a retired teacher, and my sister is in Portuguese working for our iwi. She was the treaty settlement manager, and is now manager of the transition into the post-treaty entity and trust board. So, as it was described, I'm a teacher for life. That's what I say. Been in and out on occasions, but always drawn back to education, and just I can't get away from it. And although my role is described as working in the ministry, my heart is on the ground with you people in the classrooms and in the clusters. That's really where my heart is. On my learning journey, with my father being in the army, travelled everywhere, overseas postings, British Army schools. And from a British Army school, actually, was quite a strange transition from a British Army school coming back to New Zealand, and then my father being posted to Whangarei area office, and he worked from a satellite office in Kaitaia, and we went from that British Army school into Ahipara Native School. That was in the 60s, early 60s. And of course, the native school concept was New Zealand's version of colonisation. So I was experienced that. We marched into school, into class under, listening to British military music. Maori. There was I say one Pākehā student in the school, but they were Indian. He was Indian.
Okay, it's okay.
But
That's you.
back in those days, Ahipara was basically 100% Māori community, no Māori spoken in the school, and very much that colonizing to us as tamariki. So, and then traveling, going to several other schools. In being one of those Māori tamariki, I look Māori, my brother and sister look Pākehā. Being one of those Māori looking tamariki, turning up at a school with school number 7 on your enrolment form, or school number 9 in some cases later on. One of those Māori kids, and that was being strapped on day 1 in a school for stealing somebody's lunch. Had no idea what that was all about, but that was my learning experience. But luckily at home, I had 2 parents that a saying my mum always said was, if you want to be better, if you want to be considered equal, you actually have to perform better than them. And that's true. It is very true in the world that some of us walk in. Yeah, and getting on to high school, my father's last posting was in Auckland. Arrived here in the last half of the year of my Form 2 year. Went to, I can remember in the enrolment, I distinctly remember the principal's comments I heard. Put him in 2K.
Morning, senior school. You are a weekday monitor. If you can make
Sorry,
sure
is someone
weekday class.
Sorry, Rota. Yeah, thank you. That's cool.
Yep. That principal, I just heard his voice, was sitting outside here. Put him in 2K, and the classes went from 2A to 2K. However, I spent 2 terms at that intermediate, went on to the local high school, became head boy, and that very same principal invited me back for a photo alongside him for the local newspaper.
Awesome.
I actually didn't go. I didn't go. I thought, I'm a bugger you. I went back to that school as a teacher, and there was the photo on the wall. There was the photo. There were 3 other students from that year became principals, became head boys of different intermediates, and my picture was an inset. So, yeah, when they need you, when they want you, Anyway,
yeah.
So that was my journey, arriving here in West Auckland, going to Rutherford College. No Māori taught, not even as a subject. French was my option. In my last 2 years in the 6th and 7th form in those days, June Mariu arrived. Many of you may have heard of June Mariu. She arrived. She started Māori in 3rd form. Started a kapahaka group, her and Peter Sharples, and that was the start of Rutherford's journey. But I was I was in the kapahaka group with all these 3rd formers. The Māori state housing started in our area in the mid-60s, and it was that influx of young Māori students that came through. So I was ahead of that game. I went to Teachers College, no Māori, taught it all. There was a Māori concert group, which was, perform on call. So I was ahead of that. What is very poignant now is I have mokopuna that are total immersion. I went to the to Haitia's Tangi with my son and my eldest granddaughter, and that journey down there almost reflected my journey in education. There I was. I'm not a fluent reo speaker by any means at all. There was my daughter, my son is, my daughter is, my granddaughter is. We were on our journey down to the tangi on the radio, on national radio, was constant Māori updates in Māori on the tangi that we were heading to. And I looked at my moko and thought, this is her world. My world was nothing like this. We had our kai on a Sunday night was always interrupted at 6 o'clock. Mum listened to the national news in Māori, half an hour. That was the only Māori heard in media in those days, half an hour of the news in Māori. And now my mokopuna walk in a world where the world's their oyster. Our queenie was brought up in the kohanga movement, and so those are very, very important things to remember. That was my journey.
That was your journey.
Yeah.
Awesome. Rota, tell us about your journey from where you began your roots as an educator to where you are now. What was this like for you? Obviously, it's very different those days and those days. That generation.
Yep. My first year of teaching was 1974. So that might give some of you a picture of what it was like back in those days. And there are some things that are still the same. The pressure on young Māori teachers walking into a school that is usually, most often, unless they're in the regions, predominantly Pākehā, so much is expected of that Māori teacher. They're given, as a young teacher, inexperienced teacher, they're given Māori students to handle because no one else can. They're asked to talk to Māori families because they're Māori. They may not have any experience in that. They're asked to take the kapahaga group. So there are a whole lot of the same would be for Pasifika. You walk into a school, you're it. And that's a lot of pressure for a young teacher to take on. I loved the school, my first school, so much so that was the first school I wanted to be a principal of. So after many years, that's where I started my principalship in that very school.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You were the principal of 3 schools, Rota. What have you learned about the VAR, the space between the engagement and connection with your students and your communities? So being a principal of 3 schools, how did you build the VAR? How did you build that space between yourself, the teachers, and the community?
Very interesting. In the first school, it was interesting. It was more of a Māori community, and it was that when Māori families came into my office, there was quite a different reaction. And, they were coming to see Mr. Carrington. No indication for some of them until they got to know me, the community got to know me, that I was Māori. I lived in the community. When I was there as principal, I had bought a house there when I was a student, and I lived there. In my holiday job, I worked on the rubbish trucks. So I knew many of the Māori community as a young man, going back as a slightly less young man. These Māori families walking into my office and seeing me there, it was a beautiful thing. 2, it was a sad thing that the way they felt about coming into a principal's office. I've still got relationships with those families that I made in my first year of principalship, and it was because my door was open. I was their colour. They saw me in their whānau. I saw them in my whānau. So the relationship was quite different. I think we fill the VAR in schools with palangi constructs that we think we need to fill that space. rather than respecting the space. Which brings me on to, in the third school I was principal of, was a large Pasifika community. And after about 6 months to a year of being there, I saw Pasifika mums and dads coming early, particularly the mums coming early to pick their kids up from school, or whether they were picking them up or not, they were sitting under the trees, having a fono, having a corridor,
Yep.
And feeling comfortable. And I just loved that. I felt that we were making some grounds of, they felt this was a place that they could come to and it belonged to them. And after going to Samoa last year, the significance of that really struck me. You know, it'll be maybe 15 years ago when I was in that school. But that significance of them feeling comfortable enough to come in and sit down under the trees and wait for their kids, and it became earlier and earlier, and it could be an hour, and there'd be a dozen mums sitting there having a corridor. I loved going out to see them and just having a corridor as well and having a laugh. You could hear them laughing from, and that was the other thing, from quiet hum to see them talking to then being able to hear them talk is another step. So maybe little things, but yeah, when you understand how we as Pacific people, our Indigenous culture, relate to each other, they're quite significant things, those little things. And once again, having them come in and upping me and feeling comfortable with upping me sound like little things, but I think they're a big thing. When you need things to happen or you need to deal with an issue, that's what carries it. That whakawhanaungatanga is what carries you into that space to deal with issues that may be not as comfortable, those difficult conversations.
Do you think principals and even teachers need to go out there and connect with their community? Like say you saw them sitting underneath the tree having a corridor. Do you think it's important for teachers to make that connection, to go out there, put themselves out there and connect with that community while they're at school, while they're in the school? Is that a better way of developing those relationships?
Totally. Absolutely, totally. And asking those questions. So where are you from? No, that's a standard practice. Where are you from? Oh, okay. And you never know where your connections come, how you can be connected. Yeah. And one, if you're connected, it's even better. Two, it doesn't matter, but you know where they're from.
Yeah.
And understanding where they're from and them knowing where you're from. That never happens it won't happen if you just meet in a formal situation, but it's putting yourself out there and being willing to be open, and have those conversations. Just that find out, be curious, be a Maui, want to know more. Where are you from? How'd you get here?
Yeah, absolutely. What's some of the celebrations you've had and being a principal? Being a principal 3 times. What are some of the things that have actually worked for you and developing that trust with the community, with the parents, with the students? What do you get out of it?
Oh, well, two celebrations was when I moved schools into the next one, then you knew what I didn't know before.
Yep, true that.
Yep, totally, absolutely, totally. And it's knowing that you don't know, knowing that you don't have an answer to everything.
Yep.
Knowing that there are others that will know more, and respecting that and empowering them to share their knowledge and power. And you might have a matai or kaumatua in your school, or someone with knowledge, that mātauranga, that is on another level. And unless you get alongside them and explore that, those aren't utilised. Other things celebrating is watching empowered teachers move on to other things. And that really is, you could be losing your best practitioner, but because you've seen them grow and go on to another role of the next step up the ladder, that really is something to be proud of, and then to be asked to go with them when they go to their new position is that really is worth celebrating. And it's like the true navigator is understanding that you're surrounded by other navigators, and you need to acknowledge that and be able to set them out on their own waka is something really worth celebrating.
Absolutely. Rota, what's if you can think of one major challenge that you've encountered as being Tamaki, what would that be? What was that major challenge that you've actually encountered, and that how did you overcome that challenge?
It's probably generational disenfranchisement from education. And particularly myself, I've worked in schools that I've known those communities. I have a history with those communities, and seeing the generation walk into my office that are no different, feel as disenfranchised as those generations I grew up with, and trying to get them to engage. They don't feel that they have a right, some of them, to be there or have the same rights as everybody else. It really is a lack of mana. They feel they don't have the mana in that space. It's empowering them to be their own navigators for their whānau, and to be able to be part of decision making. Yeah. What was the question?
No, you've answered it.
Yeah.
You've answered it. Hey, some strategies. We're going to go down to the nuts and bolts of it all. If you think about teachers who are in here and RTLB who are also in here as well, and we're talking about the VAR, creating that space, what are some strategies that teachers can use to engage Māori and Pacific students in the classroom? Because you've been in alternative education, you've worked with some of our tough students. What sort of strategies have helped for you that might actually benefit our RTLB and benefit our teachers that are actually in this Fono today?
Alongside them in their learning. I always talk about whakamaui, being like Maui. Maui was an explorer. Maui was an experimenter. Maui never took no for an answer. Try and encourage that with our tamariki. Look for what their superpowers. They might be given to you, presented, a case could be presented to you and all the things that are wrong with a tamariki. But if you ask what's right, what's their superpower, sometimes they don't know. They haven't explored that. But often there is something. It may not be a superpower, but it may be something that they're interested in. Get alongside them with their interests. Get alongside them with what they like. Put things in front of them that might capture their imaginations. On a broader term, I spent just a day before I even got this role with Chris Graham, RTLB, and one of the leaders in the Whirinakitanga. And I like the concept they had developed, and it was on the concept of a pōhiri. When you engage with a family, you're walking onto their marae. When you go to a house, you are the manuhiri. You need to be respect that. You're not going there with an answer to give them. You're going there, and if you respect that, the tikanga of the kawa of a pōhiri, you get welcomed into the house. You have a whanaungatanga. What's your kaikoha for this? You get all of those things on the table first before you go into how can we work together, rather than I've got an answer for your problem. And I think that if you have that, and it's quite a simple thing, really. If you don't just go knocking on the door, and walk in thinking, yep, and get down to business.
Yeah.
There are some special things to be done before you get down to business. And you may have taught that whānau's older brother or whatever. So you need to make those connections. And I think that the kawa of a pōhiri is a very good process to have in mind, is that you're the manuhiri, they're the tangata whenua. They welcome you in. It's their space. You don't take control of it. You're there to share.
Awesome. That's really good advice. Rota, you started your new role as the Principal Advisor of RTLB and LSC Services. What have you learnt? Sorry, stop there. Getting feedback. What have you learnt so far about this role? Any successes, any challenges that you've come across so far?
Yeah, huge challenges. What I'm finding is I'm stuck in a lot of transactional work. I'm dealing with issues that I think should be maybe dealt with at regional office level, but it's arriving on my desk, and it's stuff that we all. As the saying goes, you don't mind picking up the tea towel when there's a lot of work to be done. But I just seem to be having so many tea towels, I'm not able to get on to the real job. The real job of how we can, as a service, I say we, all of us, work together to make it a better service.
Absolutely.
So I need to get that system sorted out, so I'm not left holding the tea towel all the time. And it really is quite transactional stuff. And if you're going to be a manager, it needs to be transformational stuff. So how, in my mind, my first job is how can I be transformational in working with the RTLB service and the LSCs in making us a better service. I can't do that while I'm changing the tire. So
absolutely. You do have some ideas, though, eh?
It's working together. It's all about wayfinding. Everyone else has got a star point that they're navigating towards, and it might be totally relevant. We need to put them all together to combine our thoughts as leaders, and we're all leaders in that space and on where we need to go. And luckily, in my short time in the role, I've connected with some transformational leaders in the service that I've had some conversations with, and just hopefully we can work together and bring them their knowledge and their experiences into the space that we can all share. As you guys are sharing this concept with everybody, it's about bringing everyone on board the waka, and letting us share best practice, best ideas.
Awesome. So what advice would you give anyone considering a leadership role, any role, to make those changes? And someone who decides that they want to be a principal, or they want to be a customer manager or a practice leader, someone that can make those changes. What advice would you give?
I would say, look at the leaders you've come across and examine their leadership, and look at what styles of leadership were inspirational. Remembering that being a leader is not being a manager. Being a leader is moving people together, inspiring people, and empowering other leaders. Leadership is not being empower. Leadership is being empowering others. Leadership is doesn't give you mana. The mana of others is what you should grow, and you inherit their mana.
Awesome. That's awesome. Are there any suggestions you have for the RTLB service that you think may better support or accommodate to work with children with diverse learning needs?
I looked at that question, and really it's very situational on the ground. And one thing that I don't hesitate to make the people I work alongside in the ministry understand is that every cluster is a different community, and then every region are different communities. And when you get out into the regions, they are quite unique communities. So one answer doesn't fit all. It's very situational, and that's the difficulty with reporting back on outcome through amongst RTLB service, is that every RTLB service is so different. Every community is so different. We need to respect that and understand that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so my advice, I can't give advice when it's such a situational thing. Be the best you can be is probably all I can say for the people that you work with.
I agree. Yeah, and working together.
Yeah.
Are there any changes that schools need to make to accommodate students with learning supported needs, with additional learning needs? Do you think there's any changes that schools need to make, or are schools on the right track so far? Have they got it? Are they heading in the right direction in terms of learning support?
Once again, the huge spectrum of how it's dealt with. What we need to do is highlight best practice and share those, as these sort of forums can be. I think we all need to look in the mirror, all of us, from top to bottom, ministry to in the classroom, on are we doing the best that we can do? And reflect on our practice and share.
Cool. I've got a question, and I've just Lita, who's working in the background, just posted this in the chat, and the question says, how do you suggest we prioritise te reo Māori, te reo me ona tikanga Māori as RTLB when it is not a priority for most schools and the current government? That was from Sam. That's a question from Sam. So, would you like me to read that question again?
Oh, no. In some cases, you've got to be that navigator. You've got to be that leader. And so you become an influencer, I suppose, is the term. You influence the people that you deal with in that school by your how you present tikanga Māori, te reo Māori. You've changed from the inside, and like my journey, one step at a time. Kohanga Reo was only just starting after I had my two boys. On reflection, I should have later on got them into Kohanga Reo, but their reo journey came later in other ways. So really, it is one step at a time.
Awesome. Rota, Sam also asked, what are those tea towels? So you mentioned tea towels. What are those tea towels?
Oh, you walk into an environment, and I talk about the in terms of Māori, the marae space, and you can always pick up a tea towel and dry dishes. Doesn't matter whether here's a point. The last tangi I went to, I walked into the wharekai, and there was Rob Ruha sweeping the floor, Real Hall serving tea, and So it doesn't matter what status you have. When you come back, if there's a job to be done, you do it.
It's all about service.
It's all about service.
All about service. Yeah. Absolutely.
So if you're only holding the tea towel all the time, then those other qualities, those superpowers or those strengths that you bring never get used. So you need to be able to hold the tea towel when you need to, but also influence others when you need to.
That's amazing. Thanks, Rota. Just one quick fun question, totally out of context. What's something you've learned recently that you found fascinating? And there might be a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
things.
no. It really is about Pacific navigation and about
Nice.
about the last remaining now Komate now passed away, but the last remaining holder of the real old knowledge, Po, he's Marquesan. He was brought to New Zealand by Hector Busby, but his knowledge and the fact I just read last night when someone asked him where such and such a star was right now, he pointed down to the ground because he knew it was on the other side, on the other side of the globe. He knew where it was.
Yeah.
So
Thanks,
I
Rota.
thought that was fascinating.
Yeah. What are your plans now in the next 10 weeks? What do you plan to do? What's your plans? Any visits?
My plans are we have all our mokopuna, my brother and sister and all our kids and our mokopuna head down to Opotiki, and we have Easter at the marae. We've got 20 mokopuna. They all get T-shirts every year, 1 to 20. And we share our whakapapa and our waiata, and we've got our mokopuna live in Dunedin, a couple live in Singapore, some are real speakers, others live in totally Pākehā environments, but they all come together and we all take another step further in our journey about being ngā tingahere whakatohia.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Rota. Rota, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna open up the questions because we've gone through our questions, and I'm gonna open up the forum. And if anyone has any questions to ask, this is your time to get to know Rota, but also to ask those important questions that you might have. I'll leave it to the floor, and we'll just give it about 30 seconds, or less than that. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. And I'll give it some pause time. No.
Rota, if you ever need any help, Ben loves tea towels and drying dishes. So, cluster 9, Otahuhu Intermediate.
Funny story, true story. We've got a tea towel roster in our cluster, in our hub, and it was my turn last week. So I spent probably about half the day washing tea towels and towels for our cluster. You know, do it for love. Do it out of love.
There you go.
Thanks, Rota. I'm going to hand it over to Padmani to do the formal thank you, and it's been a real pleasure having you in our Fono this morning. Padmani.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Sorry, just one moment.
Fa'awhetai tele lava, Rota. It was our privilege to listen to you. Thank you for sharing your narrative, the insights and strategies for RTLB and other educators to consider while engaging with our Maori and Pacifica families. Today, we have realized the importance of cherishing Latui Leva, a safe space to develop relationships in our mahi by growing the mana of others. On behalf of us all here today, we thank you for your commitment as advisor responsible for RTLB and LSC service support, and for being part of our Fono today. Vinaka Vakalevu.
Nami.
Rota, thanks so much. Just the final thing, just the final question I really need to ask. Will we definitely be seeing you in Wellington in August with the cluster managers?
I hope so.
Okay.
I really do. I want to. I want to be there. But,
yeah. That'll be great.
No buts. I want to.
Okay, thanks, Rota. We're going to let you go. We know you're so busy, but thank you for taking the time to come out with us. You take care. Kia ora. Ka kite. Okay, right. Brian, we're going to go to our second breakout room. Here we go. Okay.
2 people at once.
Who's talking here?
So we can put the spot. Deborah?
Oh, hi, Deb. Sorry. Deborah's my niece. Full disclosure. Yeah, here we go. Found you. All right. Hi, Deb.
Oh, hi. Just a quick thought. as Samoa Māori, I really liked how he blended the kawa of the pōwhiri and that whole process of the manuhiri coming into a space and then blending it in with the vā. Like, I thought that was a really nice analogy of that when you're entering the space and then how you're nurturing and respecting that space as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Deborah.
Lovely. Thanks.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
Is there anyone else? Oh, Sam? Sam, I see you got your hand raised.
Yeah, kia ora. We had a good, we got a video, but I am here too. We've got a big room of people. We talked about the same thing, that empowerment, like he talked about, we're not managed, well, a leader isn't a manager, they're a leader, which means empowering, not having power, or acting with that power. And we talked about the manuhiri analogy and RTLB modeling that, because we don't always see that with principals and teachers acting like a manuhiri. They're acting like they're the tangata whenua for the family, but actually they should be the manuhiri because they're coming into that whānau's life, right?
Right.
Whānau should feel like it's their school, you know, and that these people, the staff at that school are the manuhiri serving them, as opposed to the other way around. And so it's that power sharing. We had that sort of discussion.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for sharing. You've got a big group there, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes. That would have been a really good discussion.
Joe?
Kia ora anō te whānau, ko Joe Adams tōku ingoa. We talked about, the concept, be like Maui, be curious. I really like that analogy, but we talked about the importance of relationships and getting alongside the kids and getting to know their superpower. But like, what does that actually look like, a relationship? What does that mean? Sitting with them, having lunch with them, having that kōrero, again, finding out their superpower. So we discussed around that.
Awesome.
Kia ora.
Thank you for sharing, Joe.